right, guys. Hello. Good evening. How are you guys doing tonight? Looks like we got Justin on the line. Very patriotic.
What's up, brother?
How are you doing?
Doing amazing. How about you, boss?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Nothing better to do at 6 p.m. I'm excited to share some golden nuggets and what we can make out of this, brother.
All right. So can you see the chat? We've got a bunch of people. There's somebody from Dallas, Tom Paris from Dallas. That's where you are. Yeah. Guys, Justin has had a lot of success in the last year, right?
Man, it's been a journey. Yeah, we've been able to surround ourselves with awesome players on our team, and had a goal of trying to do 50 deals in 2019, man, and we were 3 shy from hitting triple digits. It's awesome and kind of upsetting at the same time because we were just 3 away from hitting 100, but at the same time, man, we exceeded the expectations, and so we've set big goals up for ourselves in 2020 as well, man. So we're excited to see what's ahead of us.
Yeah, well, huge congrats to your big year last year.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, and everybody kind of read the brief intro that I sent out via email, but maybe you could go over that one more time, right? You kind of were working at Opendoor. You quit to acquire your own deals. 2 years into it, you had a year of 90-something deals, and about half of those came from DealMachine, people driving around, right?
Yeah, man, most of it. So when I actually started my journey into becoming an entrepreneur and having my own company, you know, one of the main things that I always heard is you want to go deep before you go wide, right? And so I knew that if I was going to take on any type of marketing channel or anything like that, I wanted to focus on one thing and one thing only, and then go on to the next one. So I had a system in place and I could delegate it. So for us, what always made sense to me was focusing on lists that you really just couldn't buy or find anywhere else. And driving for dollars that's it. I mean, you're able to go out, you're able to find deals that may be distressed or vacant, that don't show up on a vacant list. Tons of different scenarios, and actually being in the field and being in the environment and seeing what's out there really allowed us to focus heavily on that lane. And like I said, we started with literally driving around. We had a piece of paper. We're doing it in the worst way possible. I didn't know about DealMachine, didn't know about all these amazing softwares that were out there, and just did it the old-fashioned way, man. We'd get on there, then we go and we try to Google these numbers, and we heard about skip tracing. And so it was just starting as such amateurs and slowly but surely immersing ourselves in this industry, learning what was out there, learning what other people were doing, learning about you guys at DealMachine. We were able to take that step and then move into cold calling and then texting and then just direct mail, and really focus our energy just one thing at a time. But going back to it, it was an eye-opener for me, because the first 8 months, David, I didn't have any stats or anything like that. So we were just kind of ready, fire, aim approach, right? We were trying to take action on it and see what was going to happen. And then as we started realizing, okay, KPIs, key performance indicators, are incredibly important. Where are these deals coming from? You know, how are we making these opportunities, and what does that look like, so we can start cutting out the fat and really doubling down on what's working? And so for us, we started seeing, every time we looked at it, man, driving for dollars was one of the top aspects of what was bringing in all of our deals. Mm-hmm. We were able to find so many houses, and we would reference them on other lists that, you know, these were definitely vacant houses, distressed. They weren't showing up anywhere else. Man, we're onto something. So why don't we start getting people to drive with us? People that are looking for part-time work, someone that's retired, someone that's with Uber and Lyft, that may want to have a symbiotic income to what they're already doing. And so that's what we focused on, man. Now we've got a team of 7 drivers looking for 3 more, want to get 10 in DFW and any other markets we're going to. And DealMachine has, without question, been the number one indicator for us to be able to do that and scale it the way that we have up to this point.
It's an amazing story. I love what you said by go deep before you go wide.
Yeah, and it's important, man, for sure.
I think that's really key, because, once you're at an enterprise level, you've probably already done a few channels, but like yourself, just starting out, it was so important to focus all your energy to get that one thing right before adding something else. I feel like so often people try a bunch of stuff but don't get any results with anything because it was all just kind of like a halfway try.
Yeah, man. I mean, you dabble on it. So whenever in our industry, it's so easy too, David. You start hearing about all these other routes. So subject to owner financing and all this stuff comes to you, and as an entrepreneur and as a type A person, which I'm sure most people that are listening are probably that way, it's, you want to go after all of it. You want to do everything that's working, right? And so having the discipline and the commitment to kind of stay back and say, look, I'm going to focus on this one thing. I'm going to focus on providing the best opportunity, the best service possible to these homeowners. And then all these other routes will take care of itself. And that goes hand in hand with the cold calling and the RVM. You don't want to just tackle all of it at the same time. Learn it, master it, become a disaster at first with what you're doing, and just go through the pain of just, okay, this is what it takes. I'm going to learn it myself. And then once you get to a certain point, delegate it. And then with that mindset, you're able to grow and do it in a quality manner versus just going too thin and ultimately having less results than you're capable of.
Right. Now, you also have 22 people on your team right now.
Yeah.
What are all those people doing?
That's a great question. So 22 people, it consists of in-house, we've got 7 individuals. So it includes our acquisition managers, appointment setters, AKA cold callers. And then we've got a full-time admin that works with us as well. And outside of that, we lean heavily towards Upwork. So it's a third-party company. Those that don't know it, you're able to hire freelancers, amazing talent to come in there and say, hey, I'm looking for someone that can do this. These are usually going to be tasks that are important to your business, but may not be the best use of your time, right? Usually find them at a good cost. People are hungry to prove themselves. And so you're able to get quality people through Upwork as well. And so that's something we focus heavily on. So we have what's called a front line, right? So people that are making those outbound calls, people that are helping with text message, people that are helping with data entry on the back end. And so the rest of the team, other than the drivers, the 7 drivers outside the office, consist of just back end support to help with lead generation, customer service, and data entry.
Gotcha. That's even a task to manage 10 plus people doing, those type of tasks, I imagine.
It is, man. I can't sit here and say that it's been easy to have individuals come on and one, trust in me, the business, the vision. It's been a huge humbling experience for me and anyone that's going out and able to make something happen that started from scratch. But the cool thing is, what I've learned more than anything up to this point, if you want A+ players, you got to be an A+ leader. And so anyone that is listening to this that may be looking to hire some people on or grow their team, realize that you got to really invest in yourself. You got to have consistency. You got to be that individual that people can come to and believe in and know that you've been through the pain. You've gone through what it takes to get to that point, to teach them, to coach them, to train them, and to push them through the hard times. Because anything that's worth having, it's one of my favorite quotes. It's an uphill battle. And so I try to focus heavily on that and making sure that anyone that comes on the team understands, hey, look, here's where you're at right now. You have the ability to grow with our company. We've only been in business for, just over 2 years. And making sure that I understand that they're not working for me, I work for them. It's one of the most important parts of it, to make sure that they're cared for. It's not just about business, knowing them at a deep personal level and having that focus, man, being very relationship oriented with what we do has been able to help us a lot, keep really good quality people on for the long term.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys now listening have heard his backstory in about 10 minutes. So there's plenty of details so we can get more information on. I want you guys now to ask some questions in the chat, either about what you just heard or something in particular that you're struggling with, that you'd like Justin to help walk you through. And then we'll start answering all your questions. And we'll pick a few ones that need a little bit more in depth and actually bring them on to ask it in person. We'll have a conversation with as well.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. So where are you right now? Are you in your studio?
No, yeah, I'm up in my upstairs right now. I'm trying to build out a little studio here. This is my first time using a mic. I don't even know if it's working, but it kind of looks cool, So
yeah, you don't know if it's working.
And it just fell off. So there you go.
All right. So Benjamin asked the first question, and he is saying, how do you have your drivers split set up? So I imagine that's in terms of how do you pay your drivers?
Yeah, great question. So we started out, and I've gone a few different routes with this. Now I'm paying them per property. I started out paying them on an hourly basis with some gas money, depending on how far that they're going to be driving. From then, the cool thing about it is you can skin the cat a few different ways when it comes to payment, right? But what I found is most effective, a lot of people like production, right? So what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And so what we do now is we start them at 50 cents per house. And then there's thresholds. So if you've been with the company for 6 months or you've hit, I think it's like 2,000, 2,500 leads, something like that, you're able to then promote to 60 cents. And then if you've been there a certain amount of time with another filtering process, you move up to 75 cents. And then that's kind of the way we have it right now. It works really well because, like I said, what they put into it is what they get out of it. But what's important with any route you go is making sure that you have quality control in place. So the beautiful thing about DealMachine is you can get on there, filter out all the options, see what driver A is doing, what they're tagging, what the photo looks like, and make sure you're giving them that feedback up front and make sure they know that you're watching and that, we take this seriously. We want to market to houses that meet our criteria. But as long as you have that in place and people that are trustworthy and that want to do a good job and make side income, I mean, it's a great opportunity for anyone that may be looking for it.
Awesome. And then part 2 of his question was, where did you find those drivers?
Yeah, so that is a very good question. And it was hard for me at first. So what I did to begin with is I used my sphere of influence. Got on Facebook, reached out to people that I knew. Fun fact, I was a pretty big knucklehead in high school. Got in trouble. I was graduated very, very bottom of my class and just couldn't ever pay attention. But long story short, I had, who's now one of like my best friends, my Latin teacher, who would send me, has more stories than he probably knows what to do with when it comes to me, but would send me to the principal's office every now and then. And now he's working for me on the side. He's retired. And so I've used that. I've gone with my sphere of influence, people that I know, posting on Facebook, talking to friends, see if they know anyone that may be looking to get on with an opportunity like this. And what I found for me in particular is you're either going to have a demographic that's most durable is usually going to be like 60 plus year olds. They're retired. They're tired of being retired, to be honest with you. And they're looking for something to do, to be active and to be a part of. And so that's been a great fit for us. And then also we've been able to get on Facebook groups like Uber, Lyft, and any type of market you're in, get on Facebook, type in Uber, Lyft groups. If you don't have an account with them, find someone who does, and then go in there and message people, hey, I saw that you drive for Uber or Lyft. I've got an opportunity with a real estate company making money on your part-time doing something very similar to what you're doing. You want to hear more about it? And then from there, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to reply to this stuff, right? Especially if you're doing it in mass and posting on groups that are 15, 20,000. And so what we've done is just like we do with any hiring, we've set up a filtering process. Okay, hey, you're interested? Here, review this PDF, review this breakdown of the position. And then we have filter 2. And then 100 candidates ends up being like 5 to 10. And that's who we typically focus on.
It's so interesting. Whenever we did our call a week or 2 ago, you were doing all this via PDF. And then you didn't actually know about the training portal and the landing page that's part of your DealMachine account, right, for recruiting. So I'm curious, what's your take on that now that you've had a chance to check it out? And after you've recruited a ton of these guys manually.
It's a no-brainer. It was one of those things I was like, I put all this work in to create these processes with paper docs and PDFs. But now you guys have literally created a system to where y'all have amazing content in there. You can customize it depending on your market, criteria, things like that. And so we're definitely, that's literally part of my my quarterly rocks right now is to make sure I can finalize that by the end of the month and start utilizing what's in DealMachine, kind of customize it to our own market and the markets that we're going in and use that. Go in there, copy a link. It's step by step. It does it all for you. So it's an absolute no-brainer. And so I'm really excited to start using that as well. I think it's going to help our hiring process a lot more too from what we've been doing.
Awesome. Okay, we've got a lot of questions that have came through while you were answering that. So let me go find the next one. All right, so Fred wants to know, Fred Robertson. Well, actually, I missed one. Francisco says, do you target distressed or owner-occupied or any type of properties like that, or just do anything that's distressed?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I do anything that's distressed. How I've had it set up is we have 4 main tags that we go after, right? So there's obviously going to be other tags built on those 4, but the 4 main tags that we use, and the reason it's called asterisk owner occupied is because when we first started, when we had a little yellow pad, we would write down the address and put an asterisk next to it. And that was one that was like way more distressed than other ones, but it looked like someone was living there. So we kind of kept the name. So we call that asterisk owner occupied. We've got a tag for vacants. We've also got one for driving for dollars bulk. That's going to be houses that don't necessarily, they're not vacant looking. They're not just crazy distressed, but you can tell there hasn't been upkeep on it. Right? There's deferred maintenance, and we've had a lot of success with those. And so if you see a house that looks like it's just got the wear and tear, and it may not just be the ugliest house on the street, you want to really focus on those as well, because that's going to be a much bigger list too. And usually you're going to be able to have a lot more opportunities out of that, because a lot of times with what we do, we're able to help individuals that may not be able to go the realtor route, that may need to move a lot quicker, that have houses, repairs that they can't deal with based on their situations. And so anytime you see any type of deferred maintenance, I highly recommend that in there and tagging it accordingly. And then our fourth tag is empty lots. And so on top of those, we also have, the bad roofs. Does it have foundation? So they can add some more tags on top of those four main ones. But those are the four main ones that we focus on. Gotcha.
Great. Somebody asked, what's RBM? It's actually RVM, ringless voicemail.
Yeah. I may have said RBM, man. I meant RVM.
Nope, you're good. I was just reading the question. I heard it. Let's see here. Okay, so John Villa would like for you to go over some more of your KPIs.
Yeah, so I was looking at something earlier. Let's see here. Let me pull this up on my screen. So we started with DealMachine, I believe, of March of 2019. And so here's just a quick breakdown. So what I do with all my KPIs, by the way, I find someone on Upwork that is way better at that stuff than I am. Literally, I type in, hey, I'm looking for an Excel pro. If you're interested, I give them a few projects to test them out, to filter them out. And that's how I found every single person that's done data entry for me, right? I create a video using Loom or some type of screen sharing software. And I say, hey, this is the project. This is what I want you to do. And if they can understand that video, and that's how I train a lot of the VAs anyways, that's usually who I'm going to target and go after. But sidetracked on that, as far as our KPIs, we focus heavily on, the amount of leads that we get, the amount that we're paying drivers, and how many of the drivers are actually bringing in those leads, the pay for those drivers. Obviously, we incorporate the DealMachine software that goes into it. And then our revenue and our average cost per deal and average cost per lead is our main stats that we have on there. And it looks like some of this needs to be updated, but those are the core ones that we focus on. And since we've had it using DealMachine, we've had our drivers have brought in, not including acquisition managers, right around 24,860 leads. With that, let's see here.
Love it. So 24,000 leads were input.
Yeah. Well, so we've got a total of about 33,000, but that's including me and the other acquisition managers. They do it on their own time to create opportunities for themselves. But as far as pay goes, we've spent about 15,000 total with that, as far as a 60-cent basis. Now, don't get me wrong, we pay bonuses and things like that. And the cool thing is, with our driving for dollars, we make sure, hey, we're going to have a lot of tasks that come up that are, going back to what I said, they're important, but they may not be the best use of our time. So we have them kind of be a hybrid with being a tasker as well. And it helps us a lot, delivering paperwork, lock boxes, things like that. So we kind of use that as and then, so kind of going back to this, we brought in right around, it's mind blowing to think about this, 650,000 just from using 19.
$650,000 of revenue?
In revenue, yeah.
From DealMachine.
In revenue.
From DealMachine.
From DealMachine. Yes, sir.
And you're paying the drivers 15,000 plus bonuses.
Yeah, plus bonuses. So that's not in there. And, if they're driving a certain amount, if they're going a little bit further, I make sure to compensate them accordingly. I just have them set up in QuickBooks as contract and, make sure that our admin, hey, they drove this amount of time for this many leads, but they did this, this, and this. And we make sure we add that on there. And someone that's, we always reward within. So someone that's really showing ownership and executing, we always like to give them some bonuses in that area as well, just to keep the hunger lit with them.
What's a bonus look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we do. So when we have a closed deal, we like to give bonuses out as well. We do, I think it's right at $150 per closed deal that they bring in.
Okay.
And then, with them doing the extra tasker stuff and just really separating themselves and showing consistency, we'll throw them another $150, $200 on their paycheck just to show a token of appreciation on our end.
For sure.
And they know the hard work pays off and that we're always going to reward with it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Those are big numbers.
Yeah, it was when I looked at it earlier today, and I've got to get better at KPIs and stuff. It was pretty mind blowing to see that. Took the spreadsheet that our VA made, and I was like, oh my goodness.
So how did you decide what KPIs were important? Or like, is there a template that you used?
Yeah, so I actually right now I just go everything out of Google Sheets.
Okay.
I found a individual on Upwork who is incredible at just KPIs and kind of taking from all of our softwares and incorporating it, making graphs and charts out of it. Say, hey, this is what I'm wanting. Here's the data. Here's how to find the data. And then she does all the magic from there.
Amazing. Okay. Let's see. Tom Paris says, if he has 20 employees in Dallas, Fort Worth area, is there room for me to make a profit and expand later? Because Tom lives in Dallas too. I would just say there's like 1 million teams in Dallas.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, as big as 20 employees is, you've probably got like 5 new Western acquisitions offices that have 20 to 40 each.
At least. Yeah, at least. There's enough to go around for I'm telling you, man, the number one thing too that I had to overcome when I first started, because I came from Opendoor, like a company that was spending an astronomical amount on marketing with their mailers. I was like, how in the world can I come in and compete? This little dude that doesn't have much money to his name at all. Like, how am I going to compete with that? But I'll tell you this, man, if you change that mindset and that perspective, to have a law of abundance, there's no scarcity, then abundance will always come your way. So my advice for you is you absolutely can. You can come in here and you can crush it. If I'm doing it, I'm an average dude. I'm certain anyone that's listening to this can do it as well.
Mm-hmm. Back to the KPIs. What point did you realize you were doing well enough that it was important to start identifying those KPIs?
So, I mean, just like anything, man, you listen to like podcasts, I try to invest in myself as much as I can. Going to seminars, I kept hearing the word KPI. I didn't know what the heck it meant. I had no clue. And then someone was like, yeah, that means key performance indicators. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, what is that? How do we go and figure that out? And so one thing I did too is I leaned towards people that are much smarter than me to figure that stuff out. People that are in the business. Hey, I know you talked about KPIs, or hey, are you running KPIs in your business? How does that work? What are you looking for? Whenever I'm listening to podcasts and I hear people talk about that stuff, I immediately write it down. I've got a little doc that has, hey, podcast notes, and I go back and I reference it. And the resources are out there. I mean, people will just tell you exactly how you need to do it. It's not a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. You've got to be willing to go and immerse yourself. You've got videos that you put out all the time. You've got more training content. You get on YouTube University, podcast. Like there's so many ways to just learn what you have to do to be successful in a business. It's crazy. And one thing I highly recommend to anyone that's looking to grow a business is reading a book called Traction. It's changed my whole perspective to understand like how the whole philosophy works of a business, the main components, and really seeing, okay, we got to have core values. We've got to have systems and document. We can't just keep recreating the wheel every time we hire someone on. We need to have a place for them to go and step-by-step procedures. And so that opened my eyes. And so anyone that's wondering kind of how to document their KPIs or anything, I would just look in, and it talks about data too. Look into the book Traction. For any business in the world, it lays out what you need to focus on to be successful and to stand out from the rest.
Love it. Phil Gore says, where are you getting your cold callers?
So I've tried a lot of different things with cold callers. I used to use a company called Call Motivated Sellers that I got through Brent Daniels, and he recommended them. The great company. It's just for me, the virtual aspect, and a lot of people do it and they have success with it. I haven't necessarily cracked the code. I haven't been able to have too much success as far as keeping virtual assistants on when it comes to cold calling. So how I find them is kind of going back, sphere of influence. Do I know anyone that I can trust, that I know is a hard worker, that would be willing to come on and prove themselves? And then knowing, hey, you're going to start here. You're going to learn the hardest part, which is talking to people, how to prospect, how to add value to these homeowners. From there, you'll have the ability to be able to increase to an acquisition manager, and the sky's the limit for you from there. So I find them there. And then we also, the individuals that are texting, we've incorporated them to kind of be a hybrid as well. So we've got 6, 7 individuals that are on our front line texting. And so their job is to also be a hybrid with Mojo and to make outbound calls and to always be on the phones too. And so we just switched. So our main KPIs, one of our core values, man, is simplicity. And I've overcomplicated it a lot. And so instead of focusing on this many hours of Mojo or this many texts and all that, we're focusing instead on like how many conversations are we having per day, right? We'll be able to see how many calls it takes to have those conversations, but how many conversations are we having? And let's set a goal. Our goal for everyone that's working with us is talking to at least 25 people, new decision makers per day. Doesn't matter how you do it. Doesn't matter what route you're going with. If you can try to talk to 25 people, that's the goal. And that's been a big focus of ours, just trying to create new opportunities. Not everyone's going to be happy to talk to you, but that's okay. You talk to a decision maker, boom, now you're one step closer to a yes. So that's just a big mindset shift we've had as well lately.
Yeah. Semso from St. Louis wants to know how many houses you're aiming to find daily. Do you have a daily measurement?
So that's a good question. There's really not. And we're trying to build out we are building out leadership in this and creating more. We just had so many people that we've known and trust that have been doing this for us for a long time. We haven't really had to focus too much because they've been so consistent. We knew it was working. They were getting a certain amount of leads, but now we're going to start breaking that down. On average, I'll tell you this, it's anywhere from like 150 to 250 houses a day each time they go out. So it just—
you hear that, everyone? 150 to 200 a day. How do you find 200 in a day? Are you going to like real rundown neighborhoods, or are you kind of in like, describe to us where you have them go look?
So I'm a realtor, not a realtor. You can use sites like PropStream, Zillow. I mean, go in and try to figure out where you can find the most cash sells, the activity. If you can get granular and really filtered out from like, hey, I'm looking for at least 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom homes from 1920 to 1980. There's softwares out there. There's so many that will show you where that activity is. PropStream is one of the best ones that exists. It's an incredible software to pull data if you're not a realtor. If you are a realtor or know a realtor, utilize them. Say, hey, could you go in there and find where the cash activity is in the last 365 days for homes that are 1990 and below that are at least 2-bedroom, 1-bath? And then from there, they're going to get tons of results. You're going to see where they're all at and start there. That's what I highly recommend for anyone that's looking for it. Or just drive neighborhoods, and if it looks like a starter home, our price, we're typically under like 250,000 ARV. So if you know kind of the prices of areas of what even updated homes are selling for, go there and then focus on the houses that look like they need a little bit of love.
Great. Let's see. Do you have DealMachine connected to your CRM?
I don't. No, I do not. I probably should, to be honest with you, but I do not currently have it connected to my CRM. How it works is we get DealMachine one time per week. Our VA then goes into DealMachine. DealMachine's, it's so great because you're able to export all your information out of there. There's tons of data points inside DealMachine. We filtered out based on the skip tracing that we're going to use and the format we need. Little trick, if you're going to be skip tracing, always skip trace the mailing address if you want the most accurate numbers. Start with the mailing address, get those numbers, and then replace it with the property address. You're going to have a much better hit rate that way. But what was I saying, David? What were we just talking about? I'm sorry. I get sidetracked quite a bit.
No, you're good. We were talking about how to find where to drive.
Where to drive, yeah. And so as far as where to drive, just our back end support. So we get the leads. I've made training videos. They take those leads. They put them in that format. We skip trace them, and that's whenever we're able to put them in our softwares to send text out to cold call. And also the cool thing is once you have it in that CSV, let's say you've got a bunch of vacant houses and you want to have just one list to focus on that's just vacants, right? So you can just filter it out, filter your tag with just the vacant leads, and then you can have one list to focus on and really hit hard with the vacants before the other leads, since you know that's going to be a really high conversion rate for you.
And JD Caldwell says you use SMS. How's that been working out?
It's been good, man. We've had a lot of success with that. I mean, it all comes down to just however the heck you can talk to people and get in front of them and be genuine and show them that you're here to provide value and give them a service that they may not be able to find elsewhere. That's the key. Obviously, you know, you want to make sure they've got a certain amount of equity in their home and that they could be the right fit for you. But other than that, whether it's cold calling, direct mail, door knocking, all that stuff, I mean, it's just about how many opportunities you're creating by how many people you're talking to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hannah, can you bring on Alexander Ryan? He seemed a little frustrated with his payment method, so I want to have a conversation with him, see if we can get to the bottom of it. And he asked a few other questions too. Let's see. Tony Doms says, have you considered a virtual assistant? I mean, that's pretty much what you're doing with Upwork, right?
Yeah, that's exactly
virtual assistants doing some kind of task.
Yep, exactly.
And he says, if you have, why do you keep in-house staff?
For virtual assistants?
Right.
Well, so, I mean, with our leads, you know, we've got our acquisition specialist. And so we've got to have boots on the ground to be able to go and meet these homeowners in person. As far as going the virtual route, you know, we're going to have a different approach to that. But for now, especially with us having a heavy focus in DFW, we've had to be able to have the virtual assistant support and also individuals to put a face to a name with these homeowners as well. And so that's why we have people in-house.
Okay. All right. Alexander, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you have a video? There you are.
Hey, there we go. Hey, guys.
How you doing?
Doing well. Yourself, David?
Doing great.
Me. I have multiple monitors. Let me get this moved down so it doesn't look like there we go.
Love it.
Yeah, man, I had a question in regards to obviously how you pay the drivers.
Yeah.
I used to do the same thing, the 50 cents per address and whatnot, and my drivers, they would just upload anything and everything. They'd go down the street, and if the mailbox was a little, they would add everything. It was just a little bit ridiculous. I gave them a standard up front and everything like that, but that wasn't necessarily the problem. It was reviewing all these addresses and making sure, is this something we want to call on and everything like that. So just want to see how you guys go about that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, man. And I can tell you, I've definitely experienced the same type of pain with that. I've had to let some people go that just, I mean, man, we had one guy that was once we started looking into it, almost every single house on every street, he was tagged. You get on like Zillow and look at a street view, and this is like an updated house that's brand new. And I was like, man, we've got to fix that, obviously. So what we've done is our training process say, hey, look, once you've kind of reviewed our information, we're going to start using DealMachine's training guide. We're going to set them up with an appointment at our office or just in person. We're going to go over and just sit down with them for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, get to know them, kind of their core values, what they're about, what their history is, things like that. And then we're going to go through very strictly our criteria. We set the standards up front and say, hey, look, you know, obviously you're getting paid per house. Not every house is going to match this criteria. We get that. But with that being said, you know, we're going to make sure that there's very strict quality control in place. We've got someone that's monitoring this all the time. It's kind of like Go ahead.
Is that just your VA or someone who monitors what they're adding is applicable?
Yeah, man. And usually, you know, at first, especially once you gain that trust, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, the first month, you know, monitor it through them. But if they're doing quality data and you can justify their tags in these houses that meet your criteria, you've got someone you can trust, man. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so if they're starting off doing that stuff and you're questionable, and then you sit them down, you kind of send that to them. Hey, let's jump on a quick hangout, or hey, meet me here. I want to kind of just go through a few things. Happens all the time. Get them on that same page, get them another shot. But if it continues to happen, man, you've got the wrong person in the right seat at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, that was just my question. And it goes both ways. I pay hourly now, but the thing with that is they could drive for 2 hours and pin 5 properties. So
Yeah.
it goes
Well,
both ways.
if you're doing hourly, you've got to have a goal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. No
In
doubt.
my experience, highly recommend having a goal of like 12 an hour at minimum, 12 to 15
Yep.
minimum.
No, I try to shoot for 20 and whatnot, but I think I just got to be more strict and upfront and have a better process on the back end.
Yeah, setting those standards, man, and just having we had a system where we literally had, okay, what does a vacant house look like? What's that going to qualify for? What is an asterisk owner occupied?
Yep.
We had lots of photos in there from drivers that actually tagged them the correct way. Use those as samples. That way they know it. We also make sure we get our veteran drivers to go out there and ride with them for the first 2 days. So they ride with him.
Cool.
Yeah, and then day 2, our veteran driver rides with them, so they get a feel for it. They really understand what we're looking for, and that's been a big help for us as well. It kind of sets those expectations up front.
Okay, got it. No, you pretty much answered the question, so I appreciate your guys' help.
Of course, dude.
Thanks, Alexander.
Yep. Thanks, David. Talk to you later.
All right. So next up, I'm actually asking Hannah, can you bring on Michael Chernetsky? He had a pretty lengthy question in here that I want to ask in person as well.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Michael?
What up? How you doing?
Good.
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Do you have a video you want to turn on?
I actually do not.
Oh, okay. No worries. So yeah, you had written like about 7 questions here. So I wanted to make sure you got the answers to all of them and we got it.
Yeah, totally. Thank you. So my question is more so related to being able to hide assignment fees, not necessarily hide, but I heard of some investors printing 2 HUD statements. So one for the buyer they're assigning to and another one for the seller. So the buyer you're assigning the contract to will see the assignment fee, but the seller will not. Have you ever done that? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, so good question. This was something that always scared me too. At first, just like, well, what are they going to think if they know that we're making a profit on where we're telling them we're at? And so I'll answer this in twofold, really. One, always be a truth teller, truth seeker. What we tell them is like, hey, we may take this down ourselves with this is the truth, or what we use is we're gonna have financial partners that come through. We don't take down every deal, but our price that we're saying that we're very confident that we're going to be there, whether it's with us or our financial partners in our network. We're going to go about it that way. Obviously, we're in our contract, we make sure that we write, we're buying this home under market value, and we plan on selling it for a profit. And we're upfront with them on it. These people, they've got a problem, and you've earned their trust to go do that. You are the person for the job. And if you're just upfront with them, man, you'll never have anything to hide. But to answer your question, as far as how the HUD statement goes, it's all about your title company. I've never once, and we do most of the assignments, not one time have I had a homeowner question or call us about our assignment. I don't know what's going on. I don't go to the closings majority of the time, really ever. So I don't know how they're going about that. But what I do know is that, we're doing this stuff all the time, man. These homeowners, they're looking at what are they taking home. That is like the number one. What is the purchase price and what are they taking home at the end of the day? Those are the main 2 things they're focused on. And so we've never had to go about different HUD statements or anything like that, because typically our title company just has a way to make sure they don't see it. And it's probably on there. It has to be. It's on the master statement. But for whatever reason, they're not seeing it, and I don't think that they're even worried about it, because they're getting what you agreed upon. You're putting in a great service, and you're rewarded as well. And so going back, just tell them the truth on it, and then make sure you're with a good title company that knows the process, knows how to go through that. And if it is brought up, they can educate them how you need them to.
That makes sense. Thank you. And also, what title company do you use?
I've used the same title company. I tried to switch it up whenever they started getting a lot more clients, but I've used the same title company since day one. I use a company called Chicago Title, and they're a company under Fidelity. So it's a great company. They're very strict with their ways and how they do it to make sure that we're going to get that general warranty deed and doing it in the correct way. But they're also incredibly knowledgeable. And so one thing is if you're trying to find a title company, like literally there's so many. Get on a Facebook group and you'll have hundreds. Literally when I posted, I had hundreds of title company reps reach out to me constantly for weeks. Have a few questions. Like, so tell me about, just, these are just clarifying questions. Tell me the difference between an assignment and a double close. If they can't tell you that, there's a good chance that they probably haven't worked with a lot of investors, and it may cause more headaches than anything else. But if they can answer it and they can explain these things to you in depth and how they've had experience, say, okay, do you have a few people that are going to be doing what I'm doing that I could talk to them. How's the process? How's the communication? How often, if we have something come up on the title commitment, how quick are we going to act on this? How quick do we get the title commitment? Are you going to allow us to give us the action steps to fix this? Are y'all going to fix it? You really want these title companies to be an extension of your team. Now, they are a third-party company, but you want someone that's going to work their tail off to make sure that these deals get closed. Because if they don't get closed, they're not getting paid either. So making sure that they have constant communication, they're knowledgeable with it, and really defining those expectations with them is really important when it comes to having a title company that knows what they're doing and knows how to go about our industry in the correct manner.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. That's it.
Of course, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
You too.
All right, so next up, we've got Judy Murray. She's got 2 questions. And she says, many of the houses she finds look deteriorated. They end up being owner-occupied with high mortgages. So she wants to know if you pursue those kind of leads.
So going back to why DealMachine is so amazing, what we do with our data entry is we filter out last recorded deed data, okay? Why that's important is because obviously the longer they've owned the home, the more equity they're going to have in these houses, right? So we have like a 10-year rule to where, like, if the home has sold from 2010 up to 2020, as of right now, just because of the data that we have, we're not targeting those houses. And so if you use that, obviously there's going to be some that may refinance. And correct me, Ryan, do you guys have like an estimated mortgage amount with these homes by chance or no?
Yeah, there is one in the app as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. That right there. So that comes down to making sure you dive into what DealMachine offers with that stuff and saying, hey, here's what I want to focus on. Here's what I'm going to filter out. Make some training videos, have your VA do that. And that way, you know, the leads you're going after because of what DealMachine's put into effect for all of us. You're able to do so because you've got that data right there in that houses.
Yeah, and we've also got a new like highlighting feature on the map coming so that you can say any house that's sold in 10 years or less, you basically can like put a cover over that so you don't see those, so nobody adds those.
That's amazing.
So that's coming. All right, so let's see here.
Great questions, by the way.
If you were to, so David, was a good question. David Veris says, if you were to start all over and had DealMachine at the very beginning, how would you split your day and time? Great question. How would you split your day and time?
Is there any way for us to bring him on there so I can clarify?
Yeah,
Is that with my current team or with me starting out at the beginning?
Let's get him on here. Hannah, his name is David Veras.
I think you're muted, David.
Here you go.
Hey, David.
Sorry.
How you doing? Good.
I'm doing good.
I'm asking you to start your video via Zoom. So if you got it, go ahead and turn it on if you want. There you are.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? How are you?
Good.
Yeah, basically, you know, I got somebody who's taking care of, he's already working in the business and he knows what to do once he's at the appointment. So what I'm doing is I'm using DealMachine to bring him leads. So how would you set up your day if you had somebody that was going on appointments? All I had to do is set the appointment and find the deals. How would you do that?
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand this right. So are you kind of handling the marketing piece and the prospecting piece? Once they get to a certain point, you know they're qualified, you're sending him out there to go on the appointment. Is that right?
Right. So exactly.
Okay. So who's driving? How are these leads coming in from DealMachine?
So right now I just signed up for DealMachine not too long ago. So I was just looking around and I was asking him what I should be looking for as far as comes to properties. So,
Yeah.
what damage am I looking for? And then, so that's why, I was maybe yesterday. So.
Okay. Well, welcome to the DealMachine family, first and foremost.
Welcome.
Yeah. So as far as if I was in that position, and so just to clarify, you're going to be the one driving, right? Are you going out there and actually finding these leads? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm driving. I'm putting bandit signs. I'm doing word of mouth. Yeah.
I love it. So what I would do and how I would dedicate my time, one of the most important aspects, man, because as entrepreneurs, I'm sure you're a type A guy. You want to go, right? So you've got to be able to have discipline and time block. It's so important. And once that hour's up, or 2 or 3 hours that you've dedicated to prospecting, and you've got a 30-minute break, and then you've got to go drive for 2-3 hours, you do it. You stick with the time block day in and day out. And that was something that I had to learn a lot, man. I was working, and I still work insane hours because I love what I do, but like, I just didn't have enough time in the day, man. Look at my clock, it'd be like 9 p.m. I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't even eaten dinner or anything. Like, just the time would get away because I didn't structure my time. And so one thing I want to challenge you on, man, is like understanding. So there's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Have you read that by a guy named Stephen Covey?
Yeah. I mean, I could look into it again. Why not?
Yeah. So in that book, man, and I base everything I do off this. He's got what's called like the quadrants of productivity, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And so I make sure that every day I've got my, what are my important and urgent things I got to do? And I do those every single day. I've got my Q2s, which are projects that are very important, but they're going to take time, right? It's going to take a month, maybe 2 months. Maybe it's a huge project over 3 months to do, but I make sure I'm doing that bit by bit. And so I've set everything up to say, okay, today, this is a must do. I'm going to do it. If I don't get these other Q2s or Q3s or Q4s, I'm just going to punt them off. I'm focusing on the things that are going to be revenue in first position, and that's it. And I'm going to spend this amount of time on this task, this amount of time on that task, and I'm going to be consistent with it. I know it's going to take some time to build that momentum, but just 2-3 hours a day, man, that's the compound effect. It's going to be on your side, and that's going to lead to huge results for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm doing it all. I'm trying to do YouTube videos as well. But I guess my question would be like, how would you set up your day? Like, let's say you woke up at 5 a.m, you went to the gym, you got out, you started driving like at 8 a.m. From 8 a.m, from 11, you found houses. And then once you got home, you made phone calls. Like, how would you?
Yeah. Okay. So what I would do is I would set up in the morning just based on like call rates and people answering. I would spend that time right after the gym, go and drive neighborhoods. Right when it's light outside, man, go and start getting those leads. Have a certain goal that you're trying to hit every day. Don't leave, or a certain amount of hours. Don't leave until that goal's hit or those hours have been completed, right? Once that's done, go home, do what you got to do, disconnect, refresh, get those back in, and then start your prospecting. Are you cold calling? Is that kind of your main route that you're taking right now, or what are you doing on that end?
So I thought with DealMachine, I was assuming that you find the properties, and then when you got home, you skip trace, I guess, the properties that you found, and then you just cold call them and set appointments, right?
Yeah, DealMachine offers literally everything in between. So you can do it all from there. And so that's what I would recommend. Get that bulk in there, and you're going to know which houses. And the cool thing about DealMachine is, man, you can go in there and filter out, okay, that was a vacant house that I tagged, or that was a really distressed house. Start with those. And then maybe make it to where, remember how I was talking about like the drive for dollars bulk, like the ones that aren't like super
right.
little.
That was a key tip. I picked that one up.
Yeah, put those in like the batch skip tracing or whatever, and do those in bulk, and focus maybe manually on the other ones that are going to be the highest conversion, that are just run down, that no one's living there. It's a problem for someone. And then focus on the other ones in bulk with like Mojo Dialer or any other software that you may be thinking of. But kind of going back to what you said, man, just have a dedicated amount of time every day for your must-dos. Have the projects in place that are going to get you to that next level, that are the Q2s. Work on them consistently, and just do it day in and day out. And that's when the results are going to come, my man.
So find the houses and just call them in the afternoon. That's easy, simple, right?
That's what I would recommend. Yeah, it's really, don't overcomplicate it, man, and focus so heavily on driving. And then once you get to a certain point, and you've got that in place, start looking for other drivers to come on. Teach them your ways, what to look for, have that criteria in DealMachine, the training, and then boom, now you can just focus on the prospecting. Your time's freed up. and you can maximize your results that way too.
Awesome, Justin. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the value, man.
Of course, bro. Best of luck to you, my dude.
Hey, thanks, man.
Justin, we've got 101 unread messages.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
We might have to do a part 2. That's all I'm
Let's
saying.
do it.
We might have to do a part 2 because I looked up. I couldn't believe it was 750. This has definitely been an amazing webinar. I'd love to close it out and try to rapid fire some of these before you've got to go.
Oh, of course, man.
And
Absolutely.
see if we can get some answers here tonight, and then maybe put you on the calendar. If you're open to it, we can talk later.
I'd love to, man.
To do this
Absolutely.
again. Okay. Where do I begin? So out of the 24,000 leads, did you contact all of them? That was from Mila Makiva.
I'll tell you this. No, there's no way we've contacted all of them. There's going to be some numbers you're not going to be able to find. But that's why you want to make sure you have quality softwares that you're using to find these numbers, right? So like I said, Batch Skip Tracing is a great company. Brent Daniels is behind them. A lot of big players use them. They're quality data. Even do it in batch. You can take hundreds, thousands of leads if you need to, put them in there and get really good results with them. But to answer your question, you're not going to get a hold of everyone. But the cool thing is, focus on those ones you're not getting a hold of and get creative with them. Like, okay, I couldn't talk to them, but I wonder if I could send them a direct mail and maybe just target those individuals I haven't been able to get on the phone with and see if you can get in touch with them that way. Get creative with it and make sure you maximize your opportunities with whatever route you're taking.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. People are asking some DealMachine specific questions. Elise is answering those in the chat, which has been great. Thank you, Elise. So when your deal finders add all those properties, do you have somebody go in and approve them? Or do you have like some kind of quality control? Did you answer that already?
I did. We don't have anyone that approves them, but we're very heavily focused on making sure there's quality control at first. If there's a house that doesn't meet that criteria, you let them know about it right then and there and be consistent with that. Because if they know that's being watched and they're doing it, and if it's someone you trust, it's a good person, you're taking care of them, and it's not just them getting a quick buck, they're going to do what you need them to do. But just be very heavily intense on the quality control at first more than anything. And don't approach it to where they're not doing what they need to do. Just approach it as like it's a feedback opportunity for them. They may not have known. And so use that time to train them. And let's say the first 2 days you train them. And then let's say week 3, week 4, do another training with them and make sure you're in the field. If it's the right person that's going to stay around, invest in them for sure. And that'll help fix that.
Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to know, how long were you in the business before you found DealMachine? That was Eric De La Cruz.
So 12, like 15 months, man, which is insane to think about. When did DealMachine come out, David?
I built it it came out in 2017.
2017. So I started, my LLC was created September 1st of 2017, and I got it at March of 2019. So kicking myself in the butt for not having it that entire time, but I got it now, so it's all good.
Several people say they're asking, how do you pay your acquisitions manager? So I think that's different than your drivers.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's based on a percentage basis. So we're getting them all have their real estate license, and we've got thresholds. So like if they bring in a certain amount of revenue, I think we've got it at like, and our VP of acquisitions handles most of this, but like right around, they bring in 20,000, they get paid 12%. If they bring in 20,000 to 40,000, they get paid 15. And then we go all the way up to 20%. We make sure, going back to that quote, input equals output. So the more value you add, and I also pay them bonuses for their projects and stuff. Like if they're helping and they're stepping up in leadership, you can bet they're going to be getting bonuses left and right for the value they're adding. So I try to create a culture of people that know, hey, this is your main task, but if you're willing to do others outside of acquisition manager, you're going to get rewarded for that as well. So it allows us to build a really strong bond with the entire team.
Cool.
But yeah, it's like right at, I think it's 50 K and above, 40K and above, that's when they get to like the 20%. So that's how we do it. And it's a lot to some people, but you know, it's allowed me to keep some really solid people on board, and it's worked for me, and that's how I go about it.
I love that. I think a lot of the people that I hear that struggle with people like being retained, driver retention, they're typically only paying bonuses. And then, you know, that's tough for them to spend a lot of that time without getting any of those 50 cent per house, you know, compensation, just to like keep driving, because they got to spend their time to earn money. And it may take a little while to close the deal.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll get your return. I'm telling you, there's people all over the US using DealMachine. You will get your return. If you don't have the money, man, you get a part-time job, work for it, have the amount you need, pawn some stuff off, whatever it takes, man. You can do this if you just stay consistent and believe that you have the ability to do it, because you can. I mean, there's no question about it.
So Justin, where are you going from here in 2020? Can you talk about like some of your goals that you set with your team?
Yeah, man. So, you know, we want to be going into 5 other markets. So one thing that we've been so heavily focused on DFW, but if you're just in one city, there's a ton of opportunities in a city like this, but you get capped at a certain point. So if you want to have growth, build the team, you got to be able to expand, right? So we're going to be having our hub in DU, going virtual, having boots on the ground. And then another thing I'm heavily focused on is doing some more hotels, flips when it makes more sense. Owner finance. You know, we've got a system now where we have consistent inventory coming in. This is the first time I've actually been able to go this route, because I've got an infrastructure set in place to where I can say, okay, now I can start learning a little bit of this other stuff and tackle that. And how I do anything in this industry is I find someone that's a great flipper. I say, hey, let's team up. I'll bring the deal. I'll help with the funding and everything else. Teach me your ways of flipping. It's the best way in the world to learn. If you have the product or owner finance, hey, I'll bring the deal. Teach me how you're doing this. Teach me the game of owner finance. And so that's what I've done with all this. Find great guys that are playing well, earn their trust. They know that they're going to have my trust as well. And I learn from them and make it a win-win.
Love that. Hey, before you go, would you want to see a sneak peek of some of that map stuff I was talking to you about?
Yes, I would love that, my man.
All right, cool. Let me pop on the screen share real quick. Let me see in the chat. Are you guys okay if we spend a couple minutes showing you what's coming next?
When's the goal date on this, David, to roll it out?
There's not an exact date, but it should be by the end of the month, around that time frame. So very soon.
I'm stoked about that.
Okay, cool. Can you, let's see, you got to share my screen here. All right, can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have my normal mouse, so I'm scrolling excessively. So here's a street. And so you're seeing 2 of the new features here right now. So one is property labels. So a lot of times previously you'd have to like click on a property and add it to end up getting the owner information and all the info about the property. So now you can just click and you can see the property information before you even click on it. So it says like the owner's last name right here. And the way you can adjust that, you can change the label. And instead of owner last name, it could be the full name, for example, or it could be the property house number. So it'd show like the house number on the street.
Nice.
Yeah, and then this highlighting feature that I was talking to you about earlier is what you see with those like green squares. So right now, those are actually showing you the ones that are absentee owned, but you can change those too. So if you go over here, highlight properties, you can just highlight the ones that are owner occupied or just corporate owned. You've got a few different filters here too, including sold date, which I know you had mentioned, property value, and estimated equity percent.
Game changing.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing stuff, David.
Thanks.
always bringing something new to the table with this, man. That's anyone out there. One thing I do want to say first, as we kind of, get towards the end of this, man, I want to just congratulate you and acknowledge you for this a machine of an app that you built. It's incredible. It's changed tons of lives. It's provided opportunities to so many people that need work, opportunities for business owners. You're always improving it, man. You put a ton of passion into it. So if you're on the fence about this app, trust me when I tell you, there is not any other app or company that puts in the work and the effort like DealMachine does. So just keep doing what you're doing, brother. And I'm a huge fan and always will be.
Appreciate it, Justin. Thank you guys so much for your time. Let us know in the chat, guys, if you learned something from Justin, and I'll get in touch with you to see if you want to do something again here in the near future.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. Let's make it happen.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Appreciate it. Good night.
We still, is it still live?
We're still live.
Nice. Let's keep it going. No, I'm kidding. Hey, I'm going to give you a call, David, here in just a second, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
Buddy. Talk to you. That was awesome, man. I really enjoyed that.
Likewise. Talk to you later.
Awesome, man. Bye, buddy.